Let's set up our edit. So again, we're just gonna set it up so it changes to these things here. So whenever I create a new one, I'm not gonna use input fields yet, but when I click delete, when I click edit here, I'm gonna create a new button. It just updates to, so it says Bart scaling instead, right? Good. So I'm gonna go into my to-dos. I'm going to do this one here. I'm gonna redo this a little bit later for a more optimal way, but I'm gonna create one called editTodo here. I'm going to reuse this one for now. So I want to reuse the ID because we need the ID to actually change the specific one. So not everyone, but just one. So just like we did in Postman when we checked this, we're going to do the same here, like do the same principle here. So we need the ID to change the specific one. So it says Bart skating instead of Flanders, Canada, right? Good. So we have our edit in here. Click and then I'll get I won't get an error because I'm not using it yet, but I eventually will, but we'll get back to this one. So in my CRUD right now, I'm going to create a const called editTodo. And basically I could have copied most of the delete one, but let's just write it by hand. And oops, too many equal signs. And in here, I'm still gonna pass ID like I did before. So where to go? Up here. So I'm still passing the ID because this is still inside the folder, right? So it's still attached to it. Good. So we have edit ID, we have it here, and now we should be able to set up a fetch for this one, right? So I'm gonna do something similar up here and add a little bit extra to it, just for funsies. And in here, I'm gonna copy this one up here. So instead of deleting, I'm going to use update because that's the route I created in my code. I'm still going to use .plus_ID based on that specific thing. But instead of writing the method here, like I did up here, in here, whatever, instead of writing it like this, I'm going to create a const here. So whether we can reuse when it gets a little bit more populated with information. So I'm going to call this request options. So future reference, we're going to use this to add more information inside of it. So instead of having the method directly typed into it, I'm just going to call a variable where all the things is being put inside. And again, funnily enough, it's going to be put. So this is the name I'm going to use. So instead of passing in the object here, I'm just passing in the name of request. Basically the same thing, but just rearranging the code in a little bit different way. So we have our fetch done here. And once this is done, I'm going to set my promise here and set the standard up as usual. So res body, and then we have our next, oops, do it then with a dot like this. So it works. Then the final promise here, if we get errors, we can print them out. Oh my God, where's the correct key? There we go. And I'm just gonna make a console log. Ooh, it helped me with that one, with res. So this is again the standard setup. This is a setup for the current version of the edit. Well, we can only update what we like statically set data. So here we need to copy this. We need to return it as the other one. So it's ready to be received down here. We haven't really done a lot of extra things. We take in the ID, we use the ID down here. We have this one here and let's click save. So back in our to-dos, just as we did with our delete new to-do, we need to expose it to the template. So pop it down, oops, pop it down here. And also we want a destructuring from the actual implementation from online. So let's go check. Oh, that was a weird thing to say, but whatever. So let's go check here. So home to do, and let's do edit on this one and see we have an error. It's not a function, which is somewhere in here. Let's go back up here and check toto. Whoops. To do. Let's go back and let's check again. So now we have no errors at least, but let's see if we have the go to Mongo. Let's see if I'm just going to use this one because it's quicker. So maybe not quicker actually. I could have just refreshed. So it didn't actually update. I don't know why I went here. I could have just refreshed this one here. So it didn't update. So there's an issue. So I'm going to pause a minute because I don't know what it is. All right. After some researching, I found I had an error in my router. So you probably have the same. No, not that one. No, not move. Up in this router up here in my backend. So in the to-dos, in the router folder, I have an issue here. I was a little bit too quickly to mark things out. So whoops, see-daisy. What I need to do is that I need to allow the ID, since we're using this now. So the system actually recognizes that I'm sending along an ID. So based on this, it's going to change a specific one in our browser. So I'm going to undo this, go back here, so it's in the correct spaces. But instead of setting this in, I'm not doing this yet. I'm only doing authors, like so, and which is static data. So I'm going to do space and mark this one out here, and then have it like this. So I'm just marking this one out. It's still comma separated as before. I'm just marking this part out and having the object here. So this is how it should look. I don't know, it should have given me an issue when I did the put in the post, but maybe I missed it when we did that test. But let's see. So when I do an edit now, I refresh the page, and now we have it because now it's based on the ID. So I'm sure I did this test, but maybe I undid something, or I just forgot and didn't check the put actually one. So whoops, if that's the case. But anyway, now we access or allowed the ID to be passed through, so we can check on this, and that will make it work for this one here. So again, edit, passing in ID. We are destructuring from the composable functions here, from the CRUD one that we call up here. And then we're exposing it to the template down here. And in my CRUD function again, the ID is being passed through. I'm using the put. Again, instead of writing it here, I'm using the variable up here. And then standard promises are being created here. All right, see you in the next video.